Welcome to the PRSS 107 Provider Management PM Letters and Reports training session. During this session, we'll show you how to view examples of the letters and reports used in provider management area of PRSS. My name is Melanie, and I will be presenting the PRSS 107 Provider Management Letters and Reports session today. Our agenda for the day, we will give a brief welcome and opening. We will go over how to access letters and reports. We will have some user guide practice, and then we will go over how to generate user interface or UI reports. Then we will wrap everything up. Our learning objectives today in provider management letters and reports is to understand access for letters and reports. We will view examples of scheduled reports in the Virginia Letters and Reports user guide. We will view examples of scheduled notifications and letters in the Virginia Letters and Reports user guide. And we will go over how to generate user interface or UI reports. Our first section is accessing PM letters and reports. We will go over where to access and when to access. So scheduled reports and letters are in ECMS. Most letters and reports are generated as part of scheduled processes, for example, provider change notification letter, and are stored in ECMS for authorized internal users to view. ECMS is accessed through the MMIS, so access to those types of letters and reports will not be covered in this training session. So reports in provider management, so in PRSS, users with the proper security credentials may generate select reports to view or download. These reports are referred to as user interface or UI reports. They are designed for internal use and are stored in provider management. So letters in ECMS and provider portal. So unlike reports, letters are stored for internal DMAS use and external use by providers. So internal users access the letters through ECMS. Providers receive the letters via their preferred communication preference, email or mail, and may access copies of the letters from the file search in Provider Portal. Now you may notice throughout this training the terms letters and notifications will be used interchangeably. So reports and letters are available for review based on certain times and or events. Understanding what causes reports and letters to be generated helps users know when they will be available for review. So time-based letters and reports can be accessed after they are generated by the system. Event-based letters and reports can be accessed on demand. So I want to point out the revalidation due notification letter is considered event-based since it is linked to a trigger in the system, so the specific provider's revalidation due date. The scheduled process runs daily, but only generates letters when the due dates hit. So our next section is referencing the user guide. We will go over user guide organization, we will view a sample scheduled report, and we will view a sample scheduled letter. So you can use the Provider Management Letters and Reports user guide to learn about the scheduled reports and letters that are system generated and stored in ECMS. So let's take a look at the guide and see how information is organized. So I want to scroll down to our table of contents, and I want to point out that section 4 here is for reports and section 5 down here is for letters. Within Section 4, reports are further organized as scheduled or user interfaced. So I want to point out that provider enrollment notifications, for example, application submitted, are only triggered as part of the enrollment process and so are covered in the enrollment user guides at the points that the notifications are applicable. So we're going to click Section 4 here, our reports line, to jump to this area. So I want to point out that this section includes naming conventions and identifies report frequencies. Now the next section that we're going to take a look at is section 4.1, scheduled reports. So this subsection includes a list of scheduled reports. I want to point out that each section for reports includes a description, a table of information included, and how the data is sorted, and a sample image. All images are de-identified data. I do want to point that out. So the next section we're going to take a look at is section 4.1.11, the license termination letter. So we will go ahead and click on that, and that will take us here to our license termination letter report. This report is first sorted by license end date, and records with the same license end date are then sorted by provider location ID. So information is sorted in ascending order in this report. So the next one we are going to look at is section 4.2.1, which we should just be able to scroll down here to that section here, available UI reports. So this subsection includes a list of user interface reports. All right, so back at our table of contents, I want to point out here, section 5 for scheduled letters, that this section includes a list of PM notifications and letters. And we have here our section 5.5 provider change notification line. We'll go ahead and jump to that. So this letter is generated based on changes made in PM by a PRSS clerk, as well as when PM work items are approved for requests submitted from Provider Portal. So I want to point out that each section for letters includes a description and a sample image. So when the letter is generated, placeholder text and or blurred text is replaced by specific information from PM and formatted in black text. So now let's take a few minutes to see what you recall. So our first question is, all provider management reports and letters may be viewed through PRSS. Is this true or false? The correct answer is false. So most reports and all letters are viewed in ECMS. Providers may also view their letters from Provider Portal, but the letters are still stored in ECMS. Our second question, letters and notifications are interchangeable terms in PRSS. Is this true or false? The correct answer is true. So question 3, the provider newly enrolled report is triggered based on an event or triggered based on time? So the correct answer is triggered based on time. So the report generates weekly results, and the generation is not linked to specific changes. So our fourth question, the contract effective date letter is triggered based on an event or triggered based on time? The correct answer is triggered based on an event. The letter generates when a change is made to the provider's effective date. So the next question, the expiring licenses report is triggered based on an event or triggered based on time? The correct answer is triggered based on time. The report generates monthly, and the generation is not linked to specific changes. So which column is the license termination letter report sorted by first? Is it provider location ID, provider name, license end date, or notification creation date? The correct answer is licensed end date. So question 7, which identifying pieces of information are included in the revalidation approved notification letter? Select all that apply. The application tracking number, provider address, provider location ID, provider name, or the revalidation approval date. The correct answer is application tracking number, provider name, and provider location ID. The application tracking number and provider name are in the letter header. The provider location ID is in the body of the message. The date on the letter is the date that the letter is generated, and therefore the date after revalidation approval. So our next section is generating user interface or UI reports. So we're going to log into PRSS and generate some UI reports. So remember, to access PM, you will always start at the MES login page. The training environment isn't connected to MES, but I'm going to quickly review what it will look like when you go in to do this. So on the MES login page, you would enter in your MES credentials. Then you'll scroll to the bottom of the MES landing page and use the arrow to show the PRSS links on the provider management tile. Remember, if you have access to K2, you'll see a link for that system. So otherwise, you'll just see the PRSS link. So let's click the PRSS link to access program management in PRSS. All right, so when you click that link, it will take you to PRSS. So we're going to log into the training environment and navigate from there. So from our training environment, we will select menu and then provider management and then providers. So we can enter in our criteria here, or I want to point out in the top right-hand corner, we have this reports tab that's available throughout provider management. So it's available from any page to generate the on-demand UI reports by authorized users. So we are going to go ahead and click that here. And you can see here's our criteria that comes up. So we are going to go ahead and select a criteria, and we will jump ahead and pick a date. And then you can see down here additional report criteria if desired. So we are going to go ahead and click Generate Report to generate an on-demand UI report. So the results could take just a few moments to pull up. It looks like we've got it quite quickly here. If we scroll down, you can see the type of information that's included in the report. We have our provider location ID, provider name, DA number, effective date, and end date. So up here, I want to point out this save icon where you can export and save the information to your computer in different formats. So there are multiple formats available. In summary, I want to briefly summarize the points we went over today in provider management, letters, and reports. We hope you understand access for letters and reports. We have viewed examples of scheduled reports in the Virginia Letters and Reports User Guide. We have viewed examples of scheduled notifications and letters in the Virginia Letters and Reports User Guide. And we've gone over how to generate user interface or UI reports. So thank you all for participating, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.